Hi, I'm Darren Hayes, and welcome back to the Sarah O'Connell Show.
Welcome to the Sarah O'Connell Show.
The other day I was just thinking about my classic ballad, Truly Madly Deeply, and I think it's time for an update. I want to stand with you on a mountain. I want to bathe with you in the sea. I want you to subscribe to the Sarah O'Connell Show, because there's three great interviews with me.
Darren Hayes, welcome back to the Sarah O'Connell Show. How are you today?
I'm good because I'm starting off with you, who I love. I have a lot of these coming, but I'm very, very good. Thank you.
I'm very pleased to hear it. So, Darren, in the grand tradition of Return of the Jedi and Police Academy 3 and Muppets Take Manhattan, this is our threequel.
Oh, I tend to like threequels. I prefer Return of the Jedi. I
So,
really loved The Rise of Skywalker,
mhm.
and Muppets Take Manhattan was the third Muppet movie.
Yeah, I checked for this.
Damn good movie.
Yeah, I think so. I love New
Mhm.
York anyway, so it kind of works for me.
Yeah.
So I've got to say, by the way, before we get started with this, you are by far my most requested guest. I'm not joking. I'm not just saying it. Every day I get messages. Every time I post, who should I interview next? Darren Hayes again. But not just one person, most people.
Wow. I think we have a great rapport though, like genuinely, because we just get along. And I find it hard to fake that.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to take most of the credit for the rapport.
You should most of my interviews descend into arguments.
So I'm just gonna take that. No, I don't know. I tend to be very relaxed on your show, and I think people can tell.
That's good. Yeah, the same thing. I really just enjoy talking to you,
Me too.
which is a relief because I've got 100 of these things planned.
Yeah, but you can't say that out loud. What if other major celebs are listening? Listen, I'm only slightly jealous of Ryan. What's his name? Whatever. I don't even know he exists. Who cares? I'm more of a Hugh fan as well. So
That's what
whatever.
I do in my spare time. That wasn't for my show. That was just a social thing. I just went to the Deadpool 3
Oh,
set.
oh, that's great. That's great.
Yeah.
Mm. No, I'm really happy for the three of you, the thruple that you've all become.
Yeah, I know,
That's
right?
mhm.
I wasn't allowed to mention that for 7 months and nearly exploded.
I loved that film so much. Why do you think I loved it so much, though?
Madonna.
Yes, hello. And that version of that song, and then how it was
I,
used in the movie, and then I'm like crying.
Now, we finally got to meet last year after your sound check in
Yeah,
Oxford,
I
which was
know.
a very special thing.
But I got to meet your whole family, which,
You
well, not your
did.
whole
Pretty much my whole family. I've pretty much abandoned the rest of them. Vice versa.
family. Some of them were too young to attend, so you just left a
Mm.
can and a can opener and just said, feed yourselves.
Yeah.
I'm feeding myself on pop music.
I
Yeah,
was
no,
that there. It's really good.
which was?
Well, your concert, obviously, but I've loved your music forever.
Thank
But it
you.
was so amazing to see you perform live. Plus, I was in the front row, which helped.
Oh,
And
yeah.
you sang the first verse of "I Knew I Love You" before I met you to me, which was very nice of you. My
Yeah.
general direction.
Yes.
So thanks for that.
I remember doing that. I was smiling. That song always makes me smile. I think there's something, it's so funny. By the time I get to the word, some things you just don't question,
Mm,
I even did it then. I always get a little smirk. And I think you know the history of it, but for those who don't know the history of it, because it was written as an FU to the record company, it wasn't
yeah.
meant an affirmation. And when I wrote it with Daniel, I remember thinking, oh, we'll just write some cynical song. And it made me want to cry when I was writing it.
Yeah.
I know it sounds all woo-woo. Um, but you're friends with Ryan Reynolds, so I can be woo-woo. Did I seem jealous? I'm slightly
No, no,
jealous.
it's fine.
What? Whatever. Anyway, I think it was about a reassurance that there would be future love in my life.
Yeah.
And so now when I sing it and I have experienced that and that reassurance of like, it's just a nice feeling. Yeah, it's a really beautiful feeling.
I need to thank you for something, and this is going to be way too much information. But so when I was at one of your concerts, I met this amazing guy, and we've actually been sleeping together ever since. So here he is.
Let me just do that. I want to do that face. It's great. Oh God,
I moved
screenshot.
house and I've had to re-find it.
Do you know what's so funny is there's a really funny I think it's a TikTok, but one of my I hate saying fans because I'm a fan, but somebody that is listens to my music. His name's Leon,
Mm,
and boy is he flexible. He does the splits for a living, not on me, but
right.
just does them. It's a video of him buying that um, particular pillowcase and his boyfriend finding it for real and going, absolutely not, no. And it's in their bedroom. And it's such a funny reaction. Like he puts up with all of Leon's t-shirts, him dragging him to my concerts, and it's that typical thing of like not really a fan, but supports his, partner. But then that appears in the bed and he's like, no, I'm not sleeping next to that. And it's so funny.
Whereas I insist on it.
All the crew when we were on tour, we
Yeah.
snuck once into their beds the, in the tour bus. Some of them got quite into it. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's one of the rare instances where that would work because genuinely, I think at most places I've ever worked, if my boss gave me a pillow with their head on it, I'd be horrified. But thankfully, it's you. I've been working for the wrong people.
Oh God, it reminds me of I think I forget who the comedian was, but it was a reference to I'm gonna do some royal bashing right now. But this is a crossover between a mafia film and Camilla Parker Bowles, who I believe is our queen now. But um, it's like waking up every day with a horse's head on your pillow. Anywho,
Which, of course, would be
it
lovely.
would be lovely. Excuse
Lovely.
me. Sorry, I just got an email. Ryan Reynolds and Hugh. Sorry, this is private. Want to invite me over to a party
Oh, I
to
told
do.
them you're my assistant. Sorry, that's fine.
Oh yeah, sorry, it's a CC. I just realized it's a
Yeah.
CC. I just got a
Mm,
CC. Damn.
yeah, that's true.
I need
Sorry
to,
about that.
I need to check.
Yeah, if you could schedule that in for me, that'd be great.
So much spam all the time.
So, by the way, so there was a gap of a while since you
Hmm.
last performed.
Yeah.
What did you learn from that experience about yourself, about performing, about recapturing the love you had for doing it? Is it back?
Very much so. I
Yes.
I missed people. I really missed audiences. And I think that particular tour, because it was really such a retrospective, people came out, especially in the UK, in droves, and it was such a diverse audience and
Mm,
full of a lot of people who had never seen Savage Garden perform. And I was so privileged to see people that were genuinely emotional, like because they didn't think they'd ever get to see the songs performed live. And I don't know, I just feel really lucky because I don't have any agenda. I don't have any hang up about the band or the songs or anything like that. I just feel really lucky that I get to sing them.
mm,
People trust me with the songs, you know. And I realized on that tour, gosh, if I don't sing them, they die. The songs sort of die.
yeah,
You anything else is sort of like a cover version, but people associate my voice with the songs that we wrote together. So there's a sort of a duty of care.
yeah,
And that really blew me away. Just like there's a moment in the show where I sing Crash and Burn and just, I remember I wrote that song at a time in my life when I just really needed to hear something comforting, but now it belongs to the world. And
yeah,
there were so many people that were just like bawling because I could tell I have felt like that as a fan the first time, like when I went to see Kate Bush, and I never
yeah,
thought Kate would ever tour again. And she sang, I was running up that hill. And I was just bawling because it was a pinch me moment of just thinking how grateful I was, that this artist that I adored was just playing again.
mm,
And it required a lot for her to do that. I'll be honest to you, I'm not always the kindest to myself. And I often think people have moved on or people have forgotten me. Um, I'm very harsh on the way that I look or, if I can hit the high notes or whatever. But on that tour, I realized that people don't care. They just cared that I showed up. And I was so moved that they bought a ticket. And that blew me away. And it still does. So it made me always want to come back. Yeah.
I must say you are phenomenal. Like your energy, the passion, the creativity that you put into that show. I loved it. I went to see it twice. So good.
I loved it. We all miss it. I was just on a Zoom yesterday with some of the band members because we're doing some acoustic shows in Australia for some of the book launches. And we all just love each other. It was such a wonderful band because Lee Novak and Carl Lewis were members of the first Savage Garden band. So that
Mm,
was so emotional for me. I'm 52. I was 24
yeah.
when that band started, and to look over my shoulder and see them, uh, I just feel so lucky. I've grown up with them, but also um, the audience has grown up with me. Or if they haven't, it's people that have grown up because they were in the car seat of the carpool
Mm,
of mum and dad. And that
yeah.
was the CD that mum and dad were playing, when they were driving kids to school. I recently got a letter from someone. I'll be anonymous, so I hope they're okay with me sharing this
We
sort of
know who
anon.
you are, though. You can't be.
Oh, shoot. Well, I'll be anonymous about them. They shared a story that was beautifully heartbreaking, which was that they were 5 when their parent passed away, and the cassette tape in their parents' car was the first Savage Garden record, and they developed this sort of obsession with the record. And as they grew up, so they're 25, they'll be 30 now. Yeah, 30. That's one of their only bonds that they have with their parent because they have to put themselves back in
Yeah.
their parents' mind and think, wow, this is the record my parent was into, you know, just before he passed away.
Mm,
And I wrote to them and I just said, this means so much to me. Like, obviously, this is such a sad story, but the fact that you share this with me means a lot to me. I don't take this lightly at all. That this child has spent their whole life with just this one piece of music as the link to their
yeah.
parent. And those types of people were the people that were showing up at the shows, which
That's
was amazing.
beautiful. Yeah,
Yeah.
the music can really anchor you to people and places. And both my parents have passed away now, but I actually have a playlist of songs that remind me of both of them.
Oh, I
Songs
love
they
that.
sang, or the records they had, and all that kind of stuff, or just moments where a song was really present in that moment.
I love that. It's music does the same thing for me. I don't know how you feel about it.
I quite like music.
Yeah, but does it make you, do you let yourself cry sometimes? Do you let
It
yourself,
it takes me off guard.
yeah.
There's certain songs that just get me. Yeah,
Some of my own songs do that to me. And the other day, I'm not going to mention which one because I don't want to blubber on live camera, but a friend of mine who was coming to the book launches
mm,
um, pulled up in his car, and it was really sweet because the song Words was playing. And I was like, wow, that's a deep cut.
yeah,
And I realized, he was going through my back catalog and he had my music sort of on random. And then a song I just did not expect to hear played. And I just started crying. And he was like, "You okay?" I was like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'll explain it later." But even my own music does that because it takes me back. Same thing happened. I did something for Apple Music for the 25th anniversary of Affirmation.
yeah,
And I was talking about the song I Don't Know You Anymore, which is a song I wrote about my wife. Um, horns going off. This is for the one person that didn't know I was married to a woman. And I started crying when I was talking about it. And the interviewer was like, whoa, like 25 years later, you still feel like that,
Yeah.
about her, about the emotion. And I said, yeah, of course I do. Like I I don't know what other artists are doing, but like when I sing a song, I am back in the moment when I wrote the song.
Mm.
I don't fake it. That's maybe why I don't tour as much, or maybe why my set list is very specific. But like if I'm singing a song for you, I can't just go through the motions.
Yeah.
I'm back where I was when I felt it, just in the same way we were discussing when you hear the song that reminds you of mum and dad, or if I hear Gypsy by Stevie Nicks, think of my sister, but bottom lip starts to go, and that's my song for my sister. Doesn't matter if I'm in a Vons supermarket in America and I'm looking at 2 minute noodles that have nothing to do with her. Um, I remember, oh my God, it's been so long since I've hugged my sister, and I remember buying Mirage, the album that song comes from, and us trying to decode what did she mean by those lyrics. And all these years later, knowing, oh, that's a song about San Francisco. I ended up living there. My sister came to visit me, and whatever. Music is, it's apart from perfume, it's one of the only things I think in art that can really take us back, like with no notice.
Yeah, I completely agree. I remember when I was coming out to people that I made a list of people I wanted to tell individually, and there was a song I used to listen to just to sort of psych me up to do it. Sometimes so a lot of people I was just happy to tell, but people that I've known for a long time, it was harder,
Mm.
parents, etc. And so I used to listen to that song and then, continued with my life, finished transitioning, and heard the song again, just burst into tears because I was on the other
Oh,
side of it.
oh yeah, of
Because
course.
I used to listen to it before, before when I was just telling people, and then
Mm.
heard it again at the end. And, I was just looking back on everything that had happened, and yeah, I was a mess.
Well, I relate to that so much. I think that for me, that would have been a sense of grief, I think. And grief doesn't always have to mean grief is such a, you know, all-encompassing word, but it's just the feeling of like, oh my God, I made it through this. And you're in survival mode the whole time you're getting through this massive journey, whether it's a transition or a divorce or coming out or whatever. But you don't even realize you're in survival mode until you make
Mm,
it to the other side, and
yeah,
then you're finally safe, and then you hear that thing, and then you can finally feel safe enough to let your guard down, and it's
yeah.
surprising what your body has been holding in. Yeah.
Yeah, I think all the stress I had when I was getting ready to do this thing, and then I was on the other side of it, and it just all sort of fell out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Literally took me off guard. It was just a random playlist. And I think it was just selecting songs that I'd listened to a lot. And
Mm.
obviously that was one of them. And yeah,
Yeah.
so it was crazy. But yeah, music's a magical thing.
It's beautiful.
It is. So I'm going to jump through a few things that you've done since our last chat. You were
Oh, sorry.
on,
Sorry for some of them.
sorry for some of them. No,
I don't
good.
know. I don't know what things you're going to talk about. Could have been things on the naughty list.
They're all on the naughty list. This whole thing is me telling you off. This is, yeah, no, it's not.
Fair enough.
So,
Like when I like when Ryan and Hugh invited me to the set the day before you went.
yeah. Thank you, by the way, for putting that catering out. It was amazing. I love everything you did. The napkins, beautiful.
I can't get over it. I'm so annoyed. So jealous.
It was, yeah, it was something that was a very long time in the planning. So it was actually the summer before that he asked, I was going to the theatre and this, yeah, I'm so sorry. This is just what happened. But
Mm.
he DM'd me and asked would I like to visit the
Yeah.
set. The writer strike happened, and so there
Oh
was
no.
a
Oh,
wait of several
Sarah.
months. I know. It's
So
terrible.
I do have a very small violin in my studio that I use for such stories, but
Mm,
it is here now. Let's get back to me.
fine. So yeah, I love what you did with the napkins. Thank you. And Ryan's assistant also told me to Thank you.
I believe that the catering I put out was just for the assistants. It wasn't for the numero unos on the call sheet.
I made a terrible mistake.
Sorry.
In fact, I may have found it before they did, and they don't know there was any.
So you destroyed it. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, look at me. I'm the physical embodiment of that catering department.
Oh, please. There's not an ounce of gluten in you. You all know that Hugh has his special little meals developed. I've seen enough BTS to know he has his
had
own
pizza.
He did?
They had pizza trucks, and you order one, and then you have to wait like 10 minutes. Like they're stone baked oven things. I don't know what else they had. I had.
Stars. They're just like the rest of us.
I know. It's incredible. I had one with cheese and tomato.
Wow.
I know.
Some would call that a margarita.
They would. So you are the Masked Singer Australia, and
Oh yeah,
can you tell me though, what was it like to actually perform with that? The Grim
hideous,
Reaper?
horrible,
Was it
hideous.
horrible?
I'll try and explain it really quickly.
Yeah.
You really do sing live, and a lot of people didn't realize that. I wouldn't have done the show if that was the case because I'm not into fakery. Really did it because I was in a very messed up place in my life, and I literally had finished touring, didn't want to do it, was going to say no. One person convinced me to do it. They just said, I honestly think if you do this, you'll get out of your head and you'll be surprised to find how many people, this sounds really egotistical, but how many people love you. And I think you probably need to feel that at the moment in your life. And boy, it was a lot of work to find out how many people love me, but it was so hard. The songs that they chose, I guess the producers had a lot of faith in my vocal ability. So I'd be like, yeah, sure, I can sing that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Queen, are you kidding me? But I'd be like, sure, I can do that. I had no idea. But what you do is they put you in this outfit and it's all about deceiving like what you look like. So my hands were suspended like this, right? To take the weight off the head that was on me. So
I have to do that.
You too. Yeah. Are you wearing a suit right now?
Yeah, pretty much.
Please. So I was looking through its belt and its head was somewhere up here and whatever. But it's terrible as a singer to sing like this. Like you do want to have a posture where you have raised, your head and all this sort of stuff. But to sing like this, it's almost like being crucified. So I had to learn how to sing like that because what they do is you tape the show where you maybe sing it live 3 times during a camera blocking. They record each one and then they go live. You only get one shot live. And they aim to use the version that you've sung live. But if you mess it up, you've sung it a couple of times in the camera blocking. So if you sing it a little bit better, they will use that version. You do have a live mic here.
Right.
And if you totally mess it up, you have pre-recorded it during your they do like a key check for you, whatever. So there is a studio vocal version available. And I'm very proud to say they never used any of my studio recordings. But I will tell you that if you can't sing at all, I highly suspect that you've never sung it live on the show. I'm just going to put it out there. But it was very difficult, very, very difficult. And what I didn't know, and I'm not just saying this, I had never watched the show before. And I came second. And I was like, oh, God, thank for this. So they do the whole take it off, take it off. So naturally I reach for my belt and they're like, not that. So I'm kidding. So I take the helmet off, right? I look like a sweaty mess, just horrible. And then they go, cut. Then they take you back to the hair and makeup, beautify you. They bring you back out and then they go take it off. They interview you. And then they say, sing the song again. My last song was a Queen song, Who Wants to Live Forever, the hardest thing for me to sing. And I was like, are you kidding me? And they're like, have you never watched the show before? And I was like, no. And they're like, everyone sings it again. I was like, I have to sing it again? Like, yeah, we need to see you sing it without the mask on. I'm not kidding you. I've never said this to anyone, but I'm telling it to you, Sarah. I threw a bit of a tanty. I was like, I need to speak to my people. I was like, are you kidding me? I have to sing it again? After I've just lost? Like, I already feel stupid. And they're like, no, 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 it's fine. Like, just sing here, microphone in hands. I have these fake claws on the whole thing. But I was so furious that I had to sing it again. I kind of felt a little humiliated, right? Because I didn't even think I'd make it through show one.
Right.
Excuse me, this is dog hair. I thought I'd go on there. They'd go, that's Daryl Haynes from Soundgarden next. Well, the show doesn't work like that. Doesn't matter if they guess you. It's if you're the worst. I didn't know that. I thought I'd just go to Australia and get this free vacation. No, they guessed me immediately. But because I wasn't the worst, they were like, and you'll be back next week. So I spent like 6 weeks in Australia or whatever. I don't know how long I spent there. It was lovely. The crew were lovely. I fell in love with the whole show. By the time I left, I cried. It was amazing. I loved it. And I did have to sing Who Wants to Live Forever Again live. And I was furious at the time. However, it was the best version I did of it. So I wasn't that unhappy.
That's so funny. That's amazing.
But I was kind of like just like I just didn't believe in myself. And I was like, I'd been crying because they interviewed me and I'd been crying, and worst thing to do for a singer because all your vocal placement changes and everything. And they're like, here, sing it again. I'm like, who wants to live forever? They're like, no, 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 not now. Because you look like a slob. We're going to put you in hair and makeup, and then you'll come back in an hour and sing it again. So anyway, sang it again. And I think just having a mic in my hand and feeling all those normal things and having my lungs, that helped. So it ended up being like this challenge that I didn't think I could get through. And it was a metaphor, I think, for that point in my life.
Yeah.
So it was good.
That is good. But yeah, that's amazing. You sounded so good in that though.
Oh, thank you.
You've got another option now to sing on stage. If you want to try different heads out or something, you can.
Yeah, I have various heads around the house I just put on sometimes.
Horse
Yeah.
head, yeah.
Yeah, that's my pillowcase. But yeah.
Congratulations on becoming a US citizen. Please, everybody, vote.
Yes, just voted for, no shame in saying it, just voted for Kamala. Oh my God, I just said it the wrong way. Kamala. Do you know why? Because the racists who want to paint her as some evil whatever intentionally say her name incorrectly, which really bugs me. Kamala. That's her name. Voted for her because don't want to vote for a potential just well, don't want to vote for a criminal. Just I don't know, 34 felony counts, just admitted racist, and you could put some other consonant in that word as well because he was like officially adjudicated as doing an awful thing to a woman. The statements he's made about women, immigrants, whatever, just can't think of a worse thing to happen to the world. So, hey, I don't care. Cancel me. But yes, I'm an admitted Democrat and just really, really care about queer rights. He's actually said on the record that he wants to put into law that he will take all gender affirming care away, wants to put that into law. So if you are a gay person and you're not voting for Kamala Harris, then you're voting against us. And if you think that he's going to care about queer rights, then you're like the person that has a leopard and you think you're the only human that it's not going to eat. Like, it's terrifying times. But thank you. Yes.
Yes. So thank you for voting. I hope everyone else does too for Kamala Harris. Also, instantly, I love the Peking Duk version of I Want You. So that was great.
Thank you. That ended up becoming the most played Australian song in Australia last year.
Amazing.
So very, very grateful I got to do
Never
it.
doubted it.
And it was kind of my Taylor's version as well. Yeah. It was a complete new vocal. Yeah. All re-recorded.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Isn't that amazing? Not many people know that, but I ended up doing it because I was well, here's the most polite way of saying it. I loved the idea. We're always trying to do things to sort of reinvigorate the Savage Garden catalog. It was presented to the other person who wrote the song as a remix, and the other person said, "Bah, humbug," and refused. And I said, what would happen if I re-recorded it? And the record company said, you're free to re-record it because you're free of your re-recording restrictions. And suddenly I found myself in the studio with the band and we re-recorded it note for note, and nobody can tell the difference. And I'm very proud of that. 30 years later, That's the a brand new vocal.
So could you do that? I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there.
Yes,
Could
I
you
could.
do
I could
that?
re-record the entire album if I wanted to. Yes, I could.
Mm,
Hmm.
mm.
Mm,
I'm going to
hmm.
pre-order that whenever it maybe
Me
happens,
too.
hopefully.
Me too, if that happened.
Yeah, sounds like a good idea. So, Darren, aside from all this exciting stuff you've been doing, you've also gone and written yourself a memoir.
I have.
I have to take something up with you though. Every single time I read the book title, I have a
Yeah.
mini argument in my head because it says unlovable, and then I say, "No, you're not Darren. I love you." And
Oh,
then, so the only way my brain can settle this is if I'm thinking maybe Darren means the United Nations and he's saying that they are lovable. That's the only way I can get through looking at it.
so it's obviously named after one of my saddest songs, which is called Unlovable. It's off The Tension and the Spark.
It is.
Um, and I think when people read it, they'll be very surprised. It's not a celebrity memoir. Obviously, it talks about my career, but it's about, um, I grew up in a very violent home because my father was an alcoholic and he was physically and emotionally abusive to my mom and sometimes to his children. And the reason I became a performer is not unlike the reason a lot of very famous people, I think, in the 1980s became famous. I related to Michael Jackson so deeply as a child because I didn't even know it at the time, but I identified with the sadness, I think, in his eyes, that lack of a childhood. I didn't have a childhood. I was constantly on threat detection and alert, trying to keep my mother alive. And I thought that if I became a magical pop star, that everything that was wrong in my life would instantly be fixed. That coincided with a life at school where I was bullied for being gay, even before I knew I was gay. Um, the rise of HIV and this existential threat and fear that I was going to die just for having thoughts about liking boys. And I hid all of that away and became something else, um, to try to fight off two things that were happening in my life. One, a huge family history of mental health, depression,
Mm,
suicide, um, uh, on my mother's side that was just in my DNA. And then this trauma that had come from birth, from even before I could speak. And so it's the story behind all of that while it's all happening, and it was very cathartic to write. So that's why it's called Unlovable, because that's how I felt most of my life until I mean some days I still do, but until probably 2 years ago. Yeah, a lot of therapy and a lot of work, and it's a book I think that if anyone relates to any of those themes I talked about, which is either sexual identity, um, uh, depressive, anxious, or any thoughts of self-harm, or if you've ever grown up with abuse or trauma, I speak extensively about it, and I talk a lot about my therapy and my journey through there. And the backdrop to that is fame.
yeah.
Yeah.
I relate to a lot of it apart from the fame bit. And I know it's going to be hard for me to read, but I know you've always been a beautiful storyteller. And the journey you go on, I'm very interested to hear your words from it. And not just articles or anything else or speculation, but your
Mm.
life in your words and how you got through it and seeing the world through your eyes. And I'm very much looking forward to reading it. It's out on the 5th of November in Australia, isn't it? And then around the world.
Yeah. So it's digitally, you can get it everywhere on the 5th of November because it's published in Australia via Penguin.
Mm,
I think the earliest import you can get, I think in the UK it's shipping on January 7th. So people can get like an Amazon import on 7th. I so wish that it was a global instant thing on day one.
yeah.
But it isn't. But there are various ways you
Is
can
the
get a copy.
audiobook worldwide
Yes.
on the day? Yeah, because I've actually resubscribed to Audible to get that. I've got
Oh,
my
lovely.
credit
Yeah.
waiting.
Yeah. I think my mum even did the same thing, to be honest,
Yeah.
even though I sent her a copy. But yes, it's on Audible, it's on all the different audio formats, and that comes out the same day. So that at least makes me feel better because my audience is global, and my biggest audience is in the UK, and it sort of devastates me that it's not coming out in physical form on November 5th. But you can get a digital copy, or you can get the audio copy on November 5th everywhere in the world.
I highly suggest that everybody pre-orders it, and you can import it also from Australia. There's lots of booksellers that
Yeah,
are doing that as well, so
yes.
you
Get
can
that
get it
earlier.
shortly after. Yeah,
Yeah. Thanks, Sarah. That was sweet of you to mention. But yeah, I'll tell you one positive thing about the book is that I've always felt magical, and I think you kind of did too. And I think I always looked at the world through like that there was glitter on everything. And that is sort of how I survived. And I talk about that in the book. So yes, there's some very intense things, but that is this kind of incredible thing I think my brain did. I had two ways of looking at things, which was either this is what's really happening, or this is this fantastical cinematic version of my life. And you have to be slightly delusional, I think, to believe that you could be a pop star or famous or whatever. But I had that sort of magical delusion from as early as 3 or 4 years of age, and that kept me alive, and it still does. So that's in the book. So it is sprinkled with positivity, even though it deals with some pretty heavy subjects.
absolutely. I mean, how long did it take you to write? Did you write it in one block, or was it something you were returning to over several years?
It's a great question. I got the book deal just before my album was released, actually, the last album, Homosexual. And I knew I didn't have time, and I wrote to the publishers and said, let's set a realistic date for when I have time to do this. And I started writing it maybe a week after I came off tour, and it took about a year. I had to stop writing it halfway through. And I talk about this in the book, actually, and go back into therapy because some of the memories that came up um, were so triggering, early childhood memories, and some things I had forgotten. And I went back into therapy, a particular kind called EMDR, which some people might know as like tapping therapy.
Yeah,
But if you want to Google that, just Google that after this fascinating interview that we're having, and you'll find out if anything else has failed for you or everything has failed. This is one thing that really worked for me because the shortest way I can describe it is that you're able to reprocess traumatic events in your life. And it's almost as though when it first happened to you, it was so shocking and so painful that your brain just said, nope, let's put that in a file called never open.
yeah,
And EMDR opens up the file that says do not open. And in the safety and the comfort of a therapist's care, you face this thing that you were too afraid to process as a young person or even yesterday, and you store it just as a normal memory, like any other thing in your life. Doesn't make it any sadder or any less impactful, but it stores it correctly so that it doesn't feel like a landmine in your life.
yeah,
And there were many things in my life that before this, writing this book, I couldn't explain why I would have panic attacks. I couldn't explain why a song or a smell or a sense memory or, say, being abandoned in a shopping mall by a friend would suddenly make me clammy, and it's because I'd forgotten very, very early memories in my life where I'd been abandoned a lot as a child. And I was able to just store them neatly like a pantry, like herbs in a pantry cupboard. And now when I remember these instances,
yeah,
of course they're sad, but I remember them like, oh, that's a sad thing that happened to me,
right.
as opposed to um having a panic attack. And there was a brief pause writing the book where I had to stop because my life was just, I couldn't work out why every day I would wake up and I would feel like I wanted to just not write, not be creative, and didn't want to finish the book. And once I dealt with it, I was like, oh, okay. All I needed to do was cry. And I'm just giving you a warning. We are a couple of minutes over, and I have my next one waiting. So they're going to be as mad at me as you were, which was not at all. But
I don't get mad because it wrinkles my money maker. I can't afford to. And I do find that it does make me sing better if I'm potentially on the Masked Singer at least.
exactly,
Mm-hmm.
let any stress affect our interview. But
1,000 high-speed questions.
let's do it.
And this is definitely not the one to start with.
Oh, okay.
You don't have to answer this question, by the way, because it's difficult, I think. You shared a heartbreaking page from your book where a psychiatrist said to you, did you feel safe as a child?
Mm.
And that really resonated with me and got me thinking too. But I don't want to go into that because I want people to read how you explore that in the book. But can you tell me, do you feel safe now? And I hope that you do.
Um, I'm working on it. I have days where I do,
Mm,
and I have to remind myself that it's the little me, the child in me, that doesn't feel safe, and that it's my job as the adult to take the hand of the child in me and remind that person I'm a homeowner, I'm a business owner, I've performed in front of thousands of people. Look at what I've done. Look at how far we've come, and sometimes it can be as simple as just looking around the room and grounding myself, that sensory experience of just grounding yourself and realizing that I'm not actually in any physical danger anymore.
yeah.
And I have to do that sometimes. So I think it's an ongoing journey. And I think anyone who has experienced any kind of trauma, and I don't want to belittle trauma because sometimes I think we have a habit of doing this. We try to compare our loss or grief or trauma or abuse or whatever to other people's. Someone has always had it worse. And I think that there are a lot of survivors of, especially women who have experienced SA, um, who this may seem patronizing, and I don't want it to, but I think it's um, extremely hard to recover from certain forms of trauma, especially physical and SA in nature. And but I know the tools that I adopt are similar to some of those, which are to remind yourself that you're no longer in the scenario that first threatened you. And that's what I that's what I try to do if I ever feel unsafe in my life today.
It's very good advice. I asked you in an Instagram live late one night, what is the last word in your book? And you replied, it's the word next. So
Mhm.
can you tell me after Australia, what is next for you? Might we be lucky enough to get some more music, potentially another tour if you enjoyed it?
Yeah, the truth is I don't know. I just know that I'm being creative. I know that I said it when I was on tour in the Q&As, that I'm back. I want to tour. I'm talking to you from my home studio. Last week, Trevor, my MD, was over where we were finishing songwriting on songs that we started ages ago. I probably have maybe 7 to 10 song ideas that are brewing that will turn into an album eventually. I want to, it depends what happens with the book as well. I would love that this book jumps out of the celebrity memoir genre and becomes um, just a book that maybe other people explore. I hope it hits book talk. I hope it hits other conversations where maybe another publisher will pick it up and it becomes something that I could do um, book tours about, because I would love to keep talking about it. It's so
Yeah.
much more than just about fame, it really is. There's a tremendous interest that I have about violence against women. I would say I dedicate the book to my mom, and in Australia especially, look, I just want to say it is not normal to have the rates that we have um, of violence against women. And of course, I include trans women in that. Violence against trans women is an epidemic. It's terrifying. It's this hatred of women. And I feel so passionately about that. It's not changing. A lot of the scenarios that I talk about in my book just get repeated every day. I won't go into the graphic nature of them, but some of the scenarios that are happening are so violent. And they're simply because a woman said to a man, I don't want to be in this relationship anymore. It's intolerable. And I would love to be a part of the conversation that tries to provide solutions for that. It, we need money, we need funding, we need places for women to be able to go, and we need laws, very, very strict laws that if a man uh, shows one instance, one instance of violence against a woman, that she could go and get a protective order immediately, and that uh, the repercussion of that protective order has some substance to it. So that stuff I'm really, really interested in. Besides touring and making music and whatever, that is something I feel very, very passionately about, because it feels like we're locked in a time zone. And I talk about violence against women in the 1970s, and I can't see any difference. I see it just escalating and escalating. And the rhetoric that is coming out of some far right politics is still so misogynistic and based in violence against women. And as a gay man, violence against queerness is an offshoot of a hatred of femininity. And this is toxic, and it's just something that is terrifying. Anyway, that's how I feel.
Brilliant. It's really important, and hopefully the book serves as a starting point for conversations about that.
Yeah, just a conversation about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
So everybody, please pre-order it, get the book, get the audio book, get the English version, which might have a slightly different barcode on it. I don't know.
The Australian version just comes with the meat pie and some tomato sauce, as we call it. The other day I was just thinking about my classic ballad, Truly Madly Deeply, and I think it's time for an update. I want to stand with you on a mountain. I want to bathe with you in the sea. I want you to subscribe to the Sarah O'Connell Show. That's my dog. Because there's 3 great interviews with me. My blasted dog.
That's
Anyway,
amazing. A duet between
subscribe.
both of you is my new favorite version. Darren's version finally has been released.
Yes.
Darren, I love you so
Love
much.
you.
Thank you for coming back on my show.
Of course. I'll see you soon. Sorry for my dog.
No,
He
no,
hates
no. I
me.
love your dog, and the squeaky toys, amazing. And
Me too.
thank you to everybody watching at home. Be sure to share, subscribe, give this video a big thumbs up, and leave lots of lovely comments. I will see you all again soon for another episode of the Sarah O'Connell Show. And please buy Darren's book. Thank you. Bye.
Sarah, I love you, and I'll talk to you soon, okay?
I love you, guys. Take care. Best of luck.